Well, hello there, and welcome again to the Poetry News with Arsene, Squigs, Eddie, and there was no one else available. How's everyone doing today? Are you good?
All right.
How are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks. And that's partly because I've got another joke for you.
Let's see.
I'm ready.
What do you call a cup of tea that never ends?
No clue.
Infinity.
I like this one.
Dude.
Yeah. By the way, for our regular viewers, some of my friends have banned me from telling them jokes, so I appreciate that you wonderful heralds allow me to. But I think we should get on with the show. Fantastic. So, coming up on the show today, we have indigenous languages, we have poetry salons, we have editing poetry. But before all that good stuff, we go over to the USA, specifically to Winning Writers and their article called Contests and Services to Avoid. Now, at the time of recording, this is a list of 48 places who they say fall into one of several camps. And these include what they call disguised vanity publishers, who require you to pay a high fee up front or require you to buy a lot of copies of whatever work it is as a condition of publication. They also talk about places that charge you for something that's available free of charge, so an overpriced editing or proofreading service, for example, or something that they perceive to be of low value, and also places that have certain copyright or things in the terms in the submission small print that might affect the intellectual property rights over your own poem, regardless of whether it's published or not. They also talk about low value awards, or what they call low value sites or publishers that could, in their own words, add little to your resume or even make you look amateurish to other poets or other competitions. Now, disclaimer here, I'm not personally familiar with any of these 48 places they specifically mention, so I can't comment on the validity of it all, but I do know how important it is to find the right publishers. And I am aware that some submissions are certainly better than others. So, for example, I would never pay a load of money up front for something, for example. I'd never submit without checking all of the small print in great detail. So I'd just be really interested to bring back my heralds and to talk about this. You know, have you ever been burned by a bad submission? What sort of things do you check for before you submit? What do you think about the idea of a list of article places to avoid, because normally things are very positive. And I should say, this is at winningwriters.com if you're interested. So yeah, I would love to know what you think, Heralds.
First of all, this is a brilliant idea because I have never been experienced issues with publishing, but still a lot of people, especially a lot of younger people, might be, or inexperienced poets, might fall in these traps or might get screwed by these publishers in terms of the money that they have to pay or the fine print and all of that. So I think it is very, very important because not everyone has some sort of a mentor or someone to ask, or someone who has experience to ask about these things. For example, when I started submitting my work to several books and publications and all of that, I was fortunate enough to have someone to ask, is this right? Should I question something? Can you read this contract, etc.? So it is very important to have this platform for people who might not have these opportunities and look at these, I'm going to call them the blacklisted kind of publications, as to why shouldn't we. And also you could learn about other places. Like if you read the reasons, I'm glad that they provide us with the reasons. If you read the reasons and you see them in other forms or in other publications, you would know that this is something questionable there. So it is very, very important for this platform to exist.
I definitely agree. I mean, with the rise of social media and all the fake accounts all the time, and people coming up, people really wanting to pursue their dreams, right? And sometimes they find that social media is the best way to do it. It's hard to tell what's valid and what's not. So having listings like this available makes it a lot easier to vet out what's real and what will actually get you towards your goal, instead of just being like pulled around. And especially like when it comes, like you were saying, Martin, with money up front, you never know if it's a real thing or not. Like you could just be giving some random person just money for their drugs or whatever, and you didn't even know that you were doing that. So like it's really good that listings like this exist. And like Eddie was saying, they're with people not having the right guidance available for them all the time. Sometimes you just get so focused on your dream and wanting to pursue your dream, you lose sight of like the reality, unfortunately, the reality of the cruel world. And you're so excited, and then you're done. So like, I'm glad that this exists.
Yeah, it's a wonderful concept. There should be more lists like this. It can be quite a minefield to navigate. Look forward to more information about this. I personally am afraid of submitting, but I know it's part of the writer's life, so I'm gonna get there. Hey, it's gonna be a new year coming up anyways, and this is great information to equip ourselves as writers. Thank you very much, Martin.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say, if anyone's watching and they're getting afraid of any submission ideas and whether you should submit, whether you shouldn't, based on what we're saying, I'd say the vast majority of submissions are genuine and very good. And it's certainly, I have no issue if it's a good submission of paying £5 or even up to £10, depending on what it is, to submit something. Because obviously, if you're going to put a lot of work into curating and checking poems and things like that, it's important to cover your costs. Obviously, there's a load of, to quote you, Arsene, $3.99 submissions out there that are also really good. But I know there was one time I never submitted in the end. There was this, I think it was a haiku competition I was going to submit to. And before I hit submit, I'd filled in the form, and I noticed there was no padlock in the top left corner of the screen. They hadn't got an SSL. And if there's no padlock, everything gets passed through as plain text. And this was your email address. They wanted loads of information, including things like your postal address and stuff like that. And if I'd have hit send, all of that would have just been passed through the internet as plain text for anyone just to pick up on. So I'd say the vast majority are fine. But if you have a look at this article, even if you don't take on the places specifically, because obviously you use your own judgment on that, but you'll get some really good tips on staying safe when submitting. So yeah, thank you everyone for your comments on that. Really appreciate it. And we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Eddie, and I'm joining you from Batoon, the north of Lebanon. I have a great workshop for you today, and it is called Relish in the Wreck, the Joy of Revising Poetry. This workshop is held by the Burlington Writers Workshop, and it will take place on January 22nd. It's a Saturday, and it is at 6 p.m. It's a month from now, I know, but put it in your calendars. So this event focuses a lot on editing your poetry. It doesn't have to be soul-crushing or frustrating or even discouraging to edit your poems. It could be something delightful to sort through and identify the essential parts of a poem, interrogate your core intentions, and just crash and burn your way to a version that you feel more joyful about. In this workshop, you'll explore a wide variety of approaches to revision to add to your toolkit. And they are taken from many poets' approaches, including the presenter of this workshop, who is Elizabeth Blair. Furthermore, you will learn about language of revision. For example, how to create and integrate encouraging language and process, for example, using blue pen instead of a red one, or using all of these words. Instead of saying bad, you could say it has the potential to have more impact, etc. And how to name what is or what is not working for you. So this vocabulary and vernacular and jargon is very important. Also, you will learn about the opportunity for revising time during the workshop to work on your poetry with an optional group sharing and supportive discussion. And finally, you will get a full PDF packet of the resources and the references you need. All poets are welcome, whether you have zero experience or a lifetime of experience. Anyone who appreciates poetry, anyone who writes in any other genre even, or things that are related to the discipline, you are all welcome. They do tell you to bring 1 or 2 poems that you have already written for you to revise. This workshop, like I said, will take place on Saturday, January 22 at 6 p.m. GMT, and it is for $10 per participation. I would like to bring back my fellow heralds to see what do you guys think about this workshop and revising and editing your poems all together.
Well, I mean, you guys already know, I've told you this before, when I write, I rant and rave most of the time. So for me, editing, I gotta be honest, is like the hard part. Really, really hard part for me. Maybe it's because I don't really know how to do it, because I read my thing and it makes sense to me because it came out of my brain, right? So if I knew how to like edit it properly, it'd be good. So I like that this workshop is available.
Yeah, actually, one of my probably the best working techniques is to have somebody else read my work, and I try to envision it in a way that I haven't heard it before and try to really scrutinize and criticize it. Like, you really know. When you write something, sometimes it's good, hot off the presses, good to go. And then, this other works, need some work. But when you get to the place eventually, it's like, yeah, that's it. It's not like frustration, I'm done with it, but this is good. This is what it is. That's that's where we're all trying to get as writers, and it's great, Eddie, that you would present another workshop here to help us, another tool on our mobile. Martin?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's very easy to be almost afraid of editing or what somebody might say, because if you've written something to you, it might be really personal or really precious. And especially when I was in my early stages of writing poetry, the idea of somebody wanting to change it wasn't like an arrogant thing, but it was almost, it was like I didn't have the strength to have somebody come and change it and maybe say there was a problem with something that I was doing. But the more you embrace editing and somebody else editing your work and editing techniques, the more you realize just how important it is. And if you editing in the right way and editing by somebody that you trust is incredibly powerful, and it improves your work so much. And to either be one of those trusted people or to find one of those trusted people is so important. I know when I sent my manuscript off, when I first got my publishing contract with Fly on the Wall Press, by the way, incredibly awesome press, definitely check them out, they're fantastic. That wasn't an intended plug, but they are genuinely fantastic. But so Isabel, the editor, she came back with some comments on my manuscript, and sometimes I was looking through them and I was thinking, most of the time I ended up thinking, oh yeah, I don't actually need that, or it does actually make that better. Or it was a question saying something like, why is this line in here? Not in an aggressive, why is it in here, but just in the sense of, I just want to make sure that you know exactly what you're trying to say with this line. And the final product, when I compare the final book to the manuscript I actually submitted, it's like night and day, and it's only a few changes here and there. So absolutely embrace the editing. I love the name as well, Relish in the Wreck. So, 100% definitely get behind editing. It's amazing how it improves your work in ways that you don't even think about.
Yeah, and I would like to put my input in there as well. It's when, to me, the best way to edit a poem is to workshop it and then look at it. Like, I love these non-generative workshops. And this is technically when I started writing. I started writing because I was part of this group of people with my mentor and with other uh, like-minded people. We would meet every week and just share our poems and edit them and work on them together. And it's really interesting, like you said, Martin. It's this idea of uh, is this line necessary? Is this the word you want to use? Um, uh, the entire stanza, is it necessary? The entire poem, like how can you go further? All of that. These are things that sometimes, because it is your own work, your own writing, as Arsen said, you don't see them. So it's really interesting. And then look at them on your own. Look at the edits, look at the work, the notes, all of that. It's brilliant to do that. And to have this toolkit, to have these references as to what should I do, what should I be looking at while editing my poems. That's very important. All right, thank you guys. We will come back after this break with Arsen. Stay with us.
Hello, and welcome back. It is I, Arsen, back at you again with another event. As you know, here at PGN, we are very, very all about accepting all communities. And today, I bring you an event that is no different. Today, I bring you an event that is called the Queer Poetry Salon, which is a LGBTQIA plus friendly event, and it is a big, chunky, girthy 3-in-1 event for the price of 0. So this event is actually based in Arizona, but it is online, so everybody around the world can participate in it. And basically, their mission is to strengthen and grow the queer culture in America, in Arizona, they say here. But honestly, going online means you're going global. By bringing the world's greatest LGBTQIA2s plus poets to the communities. And in this particular event that is being held on January 8th, it is being held from 3 to 9:30 p.m. You get 2 workshops, an open mic, and a featured reading. And the featured reading is going to be for people from the workshops. And the 2 workshops that are being held by two really cool authors. One is Kenning John Paul Garcia, and the other is Jada Allen. So to get into it, I'd like to tell you guys a little bit about the authors so you guys can know what you're getting into if you want to sign up for this event. Kenning John Paul Garcia is the author of OF, or Of What Placement, that was published in 2019, and Slow Living, as well as the experimental speculative epics Robot, The Wasteland, Reimaged, and Yawning on the Sands. They say that he is a chronista, humorist, performer, and anti-poet, originally from Brooklyn, New York, but currently residing in Albany. He's also an editor of Rigorous. So that's one guy. And the other one, Jada Renee, she's a Black trans femme who does many things. Namely, she's a writer who has received fellowships, scholarships, and support from Tin House, Kenyon Review Writers Workshop, Community of Writers, and Bona, among others. She's a Pushcart Prize nominee. Jada's work either appears or is forthcoming in the Academy of American Poets, Hayden's Ferry Review, Verse, Virginia Quarterly Review, Wildness, and elsewhere. And she currently lives in the U.S., occupied by Akimel, Odam, Pipash, and Yavapai lands, where she listens. And in 2021, she self-published her chapbook from the Museum of Black, excuse this word, I personally don't use it, but this is what she used, Museum of Black Faggotry. So so those are the 2 cool, very exciting authors that you can have online workshops with for the first 3 hours. And then after that, there's an online open mic where you can go ahead and feature yourself, speak your truth, speak your word, you know. And then from then, there's 6:30 to 7. And then at that time, 4 featured artists from the workshops who would like to share their work are in there. So that's a pretty cool, pretty girthy little event for you there. If you would like to take part in it. And it's always fun to be in a place where you can be safe, be yourself truly. So I always like to promote events like this, and I would love to bring my Heralds on. I know it's a lot of information, but I would love to see what you guys think about that and events of such nature.
The Queer Poetry Salon. What a fantastic concept. Definitely the world needs more spaces like this. And it's great for poets too, you know, so you get to share your work. And yeah, definitely an event. When is this again? This is the 29th of January, correct? Yeah.
This one's on the 8th of January.
28th. Okay, cool. Yeah, and the fact that these spaces can now exist on a global level, get the voices out there that need to be heard, it's yeah, I think it's a wonderful concept, and definitely going to tell my friends about that. Martin?
Oh yeah, I think it's absolutely fabulous, and I think absolutely, like you say, Squigs, the world needs more spaces like this, and like you say, Arsene, you know, safe spaces like this. And there's a number of reasons why I really like this. I was scribbling down as you were talking. Like, I think first of all, 6.5 hours. That is a lot, and you're going to get so much out of that. What, 2 workshops, an open mic, a feature reading? I think that's absolutely fabulous. But also, I think so. This might come out a little bit clumsily, but essentially, one thing poetry is amazing at is that personal story, and particularly when you're at I love seeking out spaces like these because I get to hear personal stories that I might not have perhaps thought about before or considered before. You know, like I've not experienced being marginalized and being discriminated against particularly often, and that is definitely a form of privilege. It's not a form of privilege I want or I've sought out or I've aspired to have, but you know, through an accident of birth, it's there. And you know, going to spaces like this, I grow as a person just listening and watching because I open my mind and I can understand better about experiences others have had, and I can go there and I can grow and I can learn so much just by being in spaces like this, whether or not I say something or not. So absolutely, very, very supportive of spaces like this.
Yeah, I would say that open mics like Squigs, you kind of linked the two ideas as though they are separate. And yeah, it's a safe space for the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, but also it is an open mic and a workshop and it involves poetry. But to me, these two go hand in hand. They've always done that because, and I see this firsthand when I attend, for example, open mics in Lebanon, in Beirut, where here, unfortunately, the queer community is still very much oppressed. People could get in jail for any same-sex relationship or any display of conventional normative behavior. So ever since I started attending these spaces, the queerness, the safety for queer members of the community has always been there. It's a given that open mics, that poetry do invite, or because for someone to be a poet in the first place, they have to have this. They are well read, they are well informed people, so they do have this acceptance to them. So when queer people find these spaces, they stick to them. And it's always been like, this space is a queer friendly place. It's a given. It's not something that we would find out of the ordinary for these spaces to involve queerness and to us LGBTQIA plus members. And something to comment on Martin's part, I think, is that it is very important for members, for cisgender, heterosexual members of the community to be part of this conversation, to attend, to learn these stories, to know more about stories that they might not experience. And this is very, very important because I have seen a lot of times where queer members of society exclude cishet members. So, and this reinforces the problem, is that no, cishet people need to be included. Cisgender, heterosexual members need to be included in this conversation, because, like you mentioned, these members of society do have this privilege, and whether we like it or not, they do have something there that they can offer for change in every community. So it is very important for these queer spaces to involve non-queer people in them, because this is the exposure that the LGBTQ plus community needs. So yeah, thank you very much, Arsen, for this hefty, I would say, workshop. Oh my gosh, that's 6 hours and a half. Not workshop, like it's everything. It's a workshop. It's an open mic. It's everything. It's amazing. And it's global. It's online. Anyone can attend. Yeah, thank you very much.
No problem. I'm very excited to bring events like this, particularly because I think certain communities don't get enough recognition and awareness. One of them being the LGBTQIA 2S plus community, and as an ally, that's something that I always am trying to push in my own community, and I'm glad I was able to bring it to PGN as well. So thank you guys so much for this awesome discussion. And after the break, we come back with Squigs.
Good morning, good day, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, I am still Squigs, reporting for the Poetry News here at, the last week, the end of the year, finishing off the year. I have a great article for you. I would like to draw our attention to an article from rising.globalvoices.org, from the website Rising Voices here. An article written by Yanni C, titled Celebrating Indigenous Language Poetry. Now, it's a very interesting article here. It goes on to say that Rising Voices, in their monthly newsletter, provides a summary of their recent blog posts and all aspects of digital inclusion, including access and adoption of digital tools, as well as different ways and opportunities for communities to fully participate online. There's more information there as well. When you go to the page, they have a YouTube video which you can watch a performance of poets from around the world during the Second International Academic Forum for Sustainable Development of Indigenous Language, which was held in South Korea this November here, late this November. As well, there are links to other poets from around the world. That's Alejandra Cecil Sanchez Chan of Mexico, Miguel Angel Oxlaj Cumez from Guatemala, Negeri Wangari from Kenya, and Kola Tubusan from Nigeria. And if you click on their names, you get access to their Twitter accounts, so you can follow the poets in real life and real time. Now, the article continues to say that they deal with topics such as funding, tools, and resources, research, more of the Rising Voices blog in the funding section here. You got something that that'd be a news resolution, right? You could do a news show without Squigs going every few seconds. But during funding here, working on a project, are you working on a project to revitalize your own ancestral language to save it from extinction? Wikitongues is looking for to support 15 projects in the coming year through their Language Revitalization Accelerator. For eligibility and application details, please check out. They have the link here in the funding section, and the applications are due by the 23rd of next year, January 23rd of next year. In tools and resources, the website also has goes on to say planning a digital literacy training program of your own, but you don't know where to begin. They have a comprehensive digital inclusion startup manual you could access here. And in this manual, you can find not only a detailed checklist for logistics, but also free sources for curriculum ideas and materials, thanks to the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. Now, for more on this information, please check out this website written by Yanni C., the RV newsletter celebrating indigenous language poetry. There's some performances, followed poets from around the world on Twitter, and that is rising.globalvoices.org. I would like to welcome back my heralds, but also I want to speak about an anecdote about indigenous language. See, ethnically I'm Filipino, and the family comes from a part of the Philippines that they have a different language from like the main language of Filipino, the national language. And I remember an incident when I was younger, and my cousin, who was going to university at the time, I found this text. I believe it was poetry, but it was written in Bicol. And though you could speak the language in the house, reading it was a different story because they didn't actually teach the language we spoke at home at school. So you didn't grow up reading and writing your own family language. You grew up reading the colonial language, to say. I just want to bring my heralds here and ask you all, what are your experiences with indigenous languages and opinions about that?
Well, I think they're fantastic. I think, I'm quite a language nerd. I wish I was better at actually learning languages. I'm much better at trying to learn them and appreciating them than I am actually speaking them. But there's an estimated 7,117 languages in the world, and obviously that doesn't even include dialects, because obviously when does a dialect become a language, for example, and things like that. But it's so important to protect these and represent these, because where you've got a language, a language has its words and its ways. And I know, I'm a average Spanish speaker after a couple of drinks, but it's almost like my personality is slightly different when I'm speaking it, because it's the different words and the different constructions. And that happens with every language around the world, regardless of where it is or which dialect it is. And I love hearing my poetry in a different language. I've got a German friend of mine, and they just translated one of my poems into German just because we thought it'd be fun, and just it has this different feeling to it in German. But indigenous languages are everywhere. The world is dominated by Mandarin Chinese and English and Spanish and things like that. But we're at the point where even national languages of countries like Iceland, they've got languages that are under threat. And I'd hate to lose any language from the world, and a lot of viewers, especially international viewers, might not know that even in the UK, we've got at least 6 native languages. Just in the UK, we've got Irish Gaelic, Scots Gaelic, English, obviously, Welsh, Cornish, which is indigenous to Cornwall in the southwest. We've also got Manx, which is critically endangered. There's an island between England, Britain and Ireland called the Isle of Man, and they've got an indigenous language there, Manx, where I think they've only now got about 100 people alive who can actually speak the language. But, what would a poem sound like in Manx? Why not give it a go? Wikitongues is great as well. Give them a follow. So I'm not sure how coherent that was. It's just a topic that excites me. So that's my 2 penneth on that. What does everyone else think?
Yeah, I also want to add to the fact that you just mentioned about the number of languages in the world, which is actually something sad, is that on average, we are losing a language every other week. So a language is lost, a language is gone every 2 weeks because, like you mentioned, for example, there's 100 people or so speaking that one language. Eventually, when they all die or leave us, this language is going to die with them, and that this is happening every other week on average. And I just love poetry or anything that celebrates one's main tongue or mother tongue or main language. And especially here, for example, although I write in English, I try sometimes to write in Arabic, but I just sometimes fail because unfortunately, I would say that my brain thinks in English. I think in English. I do everything from left to right because that's how English goes, whereas Arabic is right to left. And I once got into this debate or this kind of conversation with my dad when he asked me to open a pack of cigarettes for him that has two sides. And I opened the left side first. And he was like, and I handed it to him. He was driving. And he was like, I usually open the right one first. And I looked at him and I was like, do you think in Arabic? And he was like, yes. I'm like, yeah, you think in Arabic, so you think everything from right to left. And whereas I do everything from left to right. So this is really beautiful to see how language does affect everything we do. And it's such a powerful tool. And it is sad to see a lot of these languages not being celebrated. Even here in Lebanon, most of the open mics that we have, the majority of the performances are either in English or in French. Not many performances are in Arabic, but we encourage that. We try, like, can we have someone speak in Arabic? Can we have someone think in Arabic? Do something in Arabic because it is such a powerful language. By the way, Arabic, whether it's prose, whether you're just giving a presentation, it's a poetic language all by itself. It is such a beautiful language, even if you're just explaining physics. It's beautiful. It's poetic. It's such a poetic language. And Arabic is definitely not an endangered language. There are 22 countries that have Arabic as the official language, and it is a big chunk of the world's population speaks Arabic. But still, with the younger generation, with more people, we are moving towards the lingua franca, which is English, the global language, which is English, and forgetting more and more about Arabic. I see this in my students as well, where they struggle with Arabic, although it is their mother tongue. But can you blame them? This is the world we live in. This is the time where knowing English is a powerful tool, and a lot of people favor that. So I'm glad to see that there is this celebration of indigenous languages, of mother tongues, it is very powerful. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's the same with me. Like, technically, I speak Bengali at home. I can even read and write in Bengali. However, when I write my poetry or when I want to write down a thought, the first thing that comes to my mind is English, because that's what we speak. I mean, I speak New Jersey, which is a whole different language, but like it's technically English. But and so, like, it's just like what your mind gets trained to. So I really, really appreciate this celebration of indigenous languages, because even like in India, right? India has 13 major languages. That doesn't include the dialects plus the tribal languages. So there's hundreds of languages spoken in one country that doesn't always get celebrated and doesn't always get recognized. So that, like, I feel like in India, the majority of work that I see is either in English or Hindi, because that's what most people speak as two major languages there. However, having something like this allows people to understand, be aware, tap into their roots, and celebrate everything that makes them them. So I love this. Squigs, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, that's another language. I'm miming. I'm learning to mime. Language. No, great points. Actually, Martin, bring that up with your friend. That was German. To think about like poetry in different languages, translated in different languages, is almost like a different color scheme to a piece. And the world would be poorer for us losing these different colors that we've never seen before. And Eddie, like how it actually wires your brain literally to speak and think in the language. It's just it's a great difference to exist and express yourself that way, and that we can find connections as human beings who think different. That's just wonderful. Yeah, and Arsene, definitely was going to say something. You were saying that it's beautiful. Oh, you speak New Jersey, right? Slangs can be like the modern version of an indigenous language. It's specific to the people, and it brings a different kind of thought pattern to the world. To communicate in the world. So, you know what? Maybe we're losing languages, but we're also developing our own in the future. And I hope it all balances out with a loss of anything that makes us colorfully human.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your conversation. Yeah. So, everyone, this has been Poetry News. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you get a beautiful rest of your year. Usually we close off Martin, Eddie, the particulars, statements, and sending us off. Does anyone else want to say? I mean, this is the last episode of the year. Want to say something?
Yeah, well, just to say thank you to all our viewers, all our regular viewers, viewers of other PGN shows, just for tuning in. This is our PGN hasn't even been going for 1 year yet, and this is just the beginning. So we look forward to giving you lots and lots more news in 2022, and just wish everyone a very, very happy and prosperous and successful new year. And so thank you for watching today. We hope that these articles are of interest to you. We hope you've got some food for thought, some food for your muse, and some things to inspire some poems. And we also have here at PGN, we have the Poets Lighthouse, we have the Poets Reacts, we have Breathe Poet, we have Bottoms Up Open Mic, we have Haven, we have loads going on. If you follow us on our socials, you can keep up with everything. And Eddie has the lowdown on that.
Yes, you can check us out on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok even. We're going with that new generational thing. And of course, you can see everything we are doing, know all the news, know all of our shows, when they are, when you can watch them, how you can interact with us. Of course, you can interact with us by hitting that like button and, of course, the subscribe button. Share this video with everyone you know, and don't forget to comment. Of course, if you want to tell us anything, please send us an email at the Poetry Global Network at gmail.com. If I could bring all of my heralds back, there you go. I just want to leave you, my, viewers, I just want to leave you with this motto or this mantra that I live by, which is always thinking of the here, always thinking of the now, and always thinking of the me. This will ground you. This will help you live your life as comfortably as possible as we're heading into this new year. Just focus on yourselves. Focus on how you can be the best version of yourselves. And hopefully things will work out and everything will turn out just fine. Just enjoy this new year. I hope you stay safe. Don't drink and drive. Please be careful. Let's all start this new year on a happy note.
Absolutely.
I just want to say Happy New Year's, everyone. Stay safe.
I was going to say, it's 2021. We're at the end of 2021. Congratulations, you did it. You got through this. So give yourself a big ups, and let's bring in that energy for 2022.
Absolutely. Remember, you're awesome. Don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for watching, everyone. We will see you not next year, next week. I hate doing that. We'll see you next week here on the Poetry News.